Saudi Arabia invested heavily in China's SkyShield system, a combined anti-drone defense network that merges radar, electronic warfare, and laser weapons. In theory, it offered a cost-efficient path to shoot down hostile drones using energy rather than expensive missiles. The Chinese claims were bold: 100% intercept rates in testing, operation under battlefield stress, and exports to more than 20 countries. The core laser module in that package is known as the Silent Hunter, a development of China's last platform. In tests, Chinese sources claimed it could ablate multiple steel plates at significant ranges, all intended to prove it could reliably disable small aerial threats. HAT's sales pitch was too good for a defense procurement office to ignore. Saudi Arabia, facing repeated drone threats, so this is a more sustainable path than intercept missiles. The idea: fire a laser beam, disable drones, no need to replenish ammunition. But that was a promise, not the reality. Soon after deployment, reports began to surface, and the picture painted was grim. According to a former Saudi military officer speaking to Defense Blog, the SkyShield system underperformed drastically compared to advertised capabilities. Rather than instant kills, drones sometimes took 15 to 30 minutes of continuous laser aiming or illumination to go down. That is utterly impractical in a real attack scenario. In the scorching desert environment, the system's cooling mechanism struggled to cope. Much of the energy budget had to be diverted just to prevent overheating, leaving less power for the beam itself. Furthermore, dust, sand, and desert particulates disrupted the optical tracking system, reducing accuracy and beam strength. The laser path itself would degrade or scatter. Additionally, setup times were far from ideal. Deployment and calibration reportedly took too long, hindering responsiveness to sudden threats. One key takeaway: while on paper the system looked spotless, in real, harsh, fast-moving conditions it didn't cut it. This failure has been publicly confirmed by Saudi sources, citing that Chinese systems, like the HQ-17AE and Silent Hunter, failed to intercept both drones and missiles in certain tests. A recent Newsweek report further corroborates these claims, noting that dust, heat, and desert terrain blunted performance, forcing Saudi Arabia to lean more heavily on the jamming out electronic warfare components rather than the laser module itself. So what looked like a quantum leap in defense tech is turning into a fiasco. If a system performs flawlessly in test conditions but fails under real, hostile environments, is it truly ready for deployment? Because that's precisely what appears to have happened here. And it raises deeper doubts. If this happens in Saudi Arabia, what would it mean when China tries to sell similar systems to other high-risk buyers? Understanding why SkyShield faltered requires digging into the hard science and the structural weaknesses behind it. Laser systems are glamorous on paper, but brutal in practice. A few core challenges: power supply and energy management. To generate a laser beam strong enough to damage or destroy a drone, you need lots of electrical power. That means robust power plants or capacitors, which add bulk, complexity, and heat. Cooling systems. Continuous firing causes heat buildup. To maintain beam integrity, you need advanced cooling, especially in hot climates. In Saudi Arabia's desert heat, that burden is far greater. Precision tracking. The beam must stay locked on a fast-moving target. Dust, atmospheric turbulence, sandstorms, smog, all degrade the beam path and precision. Environmental sensitivity. Bad weather, dust, humidity, fog, all these degrade laser performance drastically. Deployment constraints, line of sight, beam path clearance, mounting stability. Practical constraints limit where lasers can be placed and how quickly they become combat ready. These are not theoretical weeds. They are real obstacles that many nations developing directed energy weapons have struggled to overcome. Beyond physics, internal systemic issues in China's defense industry likely contributed to the oversell. The Chinese defense sector is state-owned, heavily influenced by political incentives. Admitting that a system isn't ready can be career-threatening. Reporting of capabilities is often exaggerated or over-optimistic, especially when companies compete for prestige, funding, or export contracts. Military systems are often judged by single benchmark tests rather than sustained performance in diverse conditions. A perfect lab test becomes marketing material, ignoring how often it fails in real use. China has fewer opportunities to test its systems in real war zones. Unlike the US, which has been able to validate weapons through repeated deployments in conflicts from Iraq to Ukraine. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, has limited recent combat experience. Without real combat validation, many Chinese systems remain paper tigers, impressive on spec sheets, weak in practice. Why did Saudi Arabia take this risk in the first place? Because their threat environment, strategic goals, and geopolitics made it tempting. Saudi Arabia is under constant drone threat, especially from the Houthis in Yemen, who often act as proxies for Iran. Drones are cheap, easily mass-produced, and can overwhelm conventional defenses via saturation attacks. For a country whose economy hinges on oil infrastructure, Goa, Kurais, upkeep, even a single successful drone strike can be disastrous to output, revenue, and reputation. In 2019, drones hit major Saudi oil facilities, cutting output by millions of barrels per day. The stakes of failing to stop drone attacks are real and huge. Conventional defenses, Patriot missiles, THAAD, etc., are expensive and designed for high-end threats, missiles, aircraft, not swarms of tiny drones. The cost per target mismatch is stark. 5.2 geopolitics and the pivot toward China. Saudi Arabia has long been a major buyer of US and Western defense systems, but dependence is becoming less comfortable. China, as the world's biggest oil importer, is a crucial trading partner for Saudi Arabia. Strengthening defense ties with Beijing offers both commercial and strategic benefits and reduces reliance on the US. Moreover, Western powers, especially the US, have been more cautious in exporting emerging or sensitive technologies like laser systems. China is more willing to push novel systems to buyers, even if they aren't fully matured. Thus, Saudi Arabia may have felt it was getting a deal, a cutting-edge defense solution tied to broader economic and diplomatic alignment. Saudi Arabia may now have to rely more heavily on electronic warfare and jamming systems, which reportedly perform better than the laser in some tests. Newsweek.com+1. They may also double down on traditional missile defenses, Patriot, THAAD, or invest more in indigenous systems, seeking to reduce dependence on foreign exporters. Saudi defense spending remains massive. In 2025, the kingdom is expected to spend about $78 billion on defense, over 7% of GDP. That gives it fiscal cushion to reallocate funds and bring in new systems. But reputational damage is real. If word spreads that they bought an overpriced, underperforming system, confidence and credibility suffer, both domestically and abroad. 6.2 China's arms export ambitions take a hit. China has long seen arms exports as a vehicle for influence and economic growth. But failure of a high-profile system like SkyShield is a serious blow. Countries that were considering buying Chinese laser or advanced defense tech may now pause, demand deeper proof, or shy away entirely. Arms deals often depend heavily on reputation, perceived reliability, and the success record of existing users. China's share of the global arms market remains modest, about 5.9% in recent years, behind the US, almost equal to 43%, and France, almost equal to 9.6%, Newsweek.com. Beijing wants to close that gap, but overpromising and underdelivering can backfire, eroding buyer confidence. The failure in Saudi Arabia could become a cautionary tale. Don't be first buyer. That is not the position an exporter wants to encourage. Moreover, China reportedly has had other export failures, issues in Nigeria, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Pakistan, etc. If these build into a pattern, global arms buyers will take notice. 6.3 broader implications. What it suggests about Chinese military capabilities. If a cutting-edge system like SkyShield doesn't deliver in a core market, that raises doubts about how much of China's military claims hold up under real conflict. Are other Chinese systems being oversold? How battle-tested are Chinese combat jets, missiles, or naval platforms? If China ever undertakes a large-scale operation, e.g. over Taiwan, will the performance gap become glaringly visible, like Russia's overextension in Ukraine? Chinese strategic planning may run into the gap between rhetoric and battlefield reality. Upgrades or reworks. Will China attempt to patch SkyShield, heat mitigation, optics hardening, dust filters, and present a desert variant? That's one path to salvage credibility. Third-party reviews. Independent observers, media, or analysts might test or review the system to validate or debunk Saudi claims. New buyers' reactions. Will countries that were negotiating for Chinese laser or advanced defense tech withdraw pressure for guarantees and performance proof? Countermeasures to drones. As laser defense proves fragile, investments may shift toward novel approaches. High-power microwaves, kinetic interceptors, swarm defense, electronic warfare, etc. China's export strategy. Will Beijing slow hype, adopt more transparency, or shift focus to less demanding systems? Combat proofing. Nations will increasingly demand real-world performance, or at least live fire trials, before signing big checks. 100% intercept rate, laser kills with no ammunition, revolutionary export for 20 nations. These claims were alluring, but hype cannot substitute for reliability. Saudi Arabia's disastrous experience with China's SkyShield system is a dramatic reminder. Real warfare is unforgiving. You can't bluff physics or hide from the desert heat, dust, or real-time constraints. For Saudi Arabia, this misstep may force a strategic recalibration, return to proven defense systems, invest in homegrown technologies, or demand tougher guarantees from foreign sellers. For China, this is a reputational warning shot in the global arms market. Buyers tend to remember who worked when stakes were highest, especially when their most valued assets are on the line. And for watchers like us, this is more than a failed contract. It's a case study in what happens when ambition, propaganda, and real-world conditions collide. Want me to break down technical specs of drone threats, alternative counter-drone systems, or China's export tactics in another video? Just say the word,